everyone, welcome back to another video of LeetCode Daily Challenge Streak series, and in today's video we have a new question that says first unique character in a string. Now let's read the question. Given a string S, find the first non-repeating character in it and return its index. If it does not exist, return -1. So we have to check if there is any element that occurs only once in this particular word, and you're supposed to return that first letter which only occurs once. Like for example, if I take A, B, B and C, you can see that A occurs once, B occurs twice and C occurs again once. Now the question asks us to return if there is any non-repeating character. Do we have non-repeating characters in this? Yes, we do. We have A and we have C. Okay, now, but what does the question again say? It says we're supposed to return the first non-repeating character, as in here the first non-repeating character here is A, correct? So you're supposed to return A. Now, let's take another example, AA, BB and CC. Now, if you can see here, all the letters in here repeat at least once. Okay, so at least twice. Okay, so here the word. Now let's take a different example, AA, BB and CC. If you see that the frequency of all the letters here is more than 1. So there is not any non-repeating character in this word. So for which you will return -1. Now let's code this up. Let's first get the length of the word here, okay, which is S, and let's initialize a dictionary or a hash map that is going to store the frequency of each and every letter here. Okay, once it stores the frequency of all the letters here, we will iterate through this character hash map once again and return whenever we find a character frequency with 1. Okay, if we found a character frequency with 1, it means that it is the first. If for example, in the example A, B and C, in this character array of A would be 1 because it occurs once, and character of B also 1. Okay, and character of C also 1. Now let's improvise this example. Let me take this as BB and CC. Okay, now what happens? Now character of B, the occurrence would be 2, and for C also it becomes 2. Okay, now let me just more improvise it. Let me make this AA and let me make this C. Okay, now this A will become 2 and C will become 1. Okay, so what we'll do in the end, we are going to iterate through these elements 2, 2, 2 and 1, and whenever we find an element with 1, we are directly going to return it. Okay, if I had 1 here, then I will directly return this value. Okay, the index of this, whatever index of A is, I will return that because we're supposed to return the index, not the value at it. Okay, so if it's 1 here, then so if I got 1 here first, I will return it. If I got 1 here first, as in if it's like 2, 1, 1, so I'm going to return the index of B here. So whichever value's index occurs first with value of 1, we will return that. Okay, now after creating hash map, what we are doing, we are iterating over the string to store the values, correct? So for C in S, C meaning the character, what we are doing, character of C is equals to char dot get of C comma 0 plus 1. If you have watched my previous videos, you know that this is how we increment the count of a given character in a hash map. So why we are doing the default value plus 1? It is because when we are trying to append the values here, first in character, it is an empty character, correct? So if when we come across the letter L, what it will do, it will create a letter L first. It will initialize the letter L value with a frequency of 0. Then when we try to add 1, it means that the frequency 1 has been added. It means that L occurs once now. Before, what it was before, there was nothing. So we have to initialize it to 0 first before we increment into 1. So that's what we are doing. Character dot get C comma 0, as in we are initializing this value to 0 first and then adding its frequency by 1. Now next time, if the element is not present, that is when 0 is there and 1 will be added. If the element is already present and its frequency is 1 in the character hash map, it will automatically change to 2 when 1 is added. Okay, this is only for the characters that are not existing in this hash map. Okay, now we store the frequency here. What are we doing next? For I comma value in enumerate of s. Okay, for I comma value in enumerate of s, what are we doing here? We are getting the frequency map value wherever there is 1. Okay, for this particular value we are checking if the frequency is 1. Okay, so if character of value, okay, if this particular value in this, okay, if its value is 1, what are we doing? We are going to return the index of this element. Since we are doing enumerate function here, it will directly return the index. We are getting the index value and value with the help of this enumerate function, so we can directly return this index value. Okay, now next, what are we doing? We are, if we found return of I, then we'll be returning I. Okay, if we found the value with 1, then we'll be returning I. Otherwise, if we didn't find anything, in the end we are just going to return -1. If we found a value with 1, we are going to return that particular index. If we didn't find anything, then we'll return -1. Let's quickly run the code. It's accepted. Let's just submit it. Alright, this works. Okay, now talking about the time complexity, since we are iterating over all the elements, okay, to store the frequency, it is O of n, and space complexity, since we are using an extra hash map to store the frequency of all the elements, the space complexity is also O of n. Thank you guys.